Greetings, guys. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Monette, and this is my channel, Evolve with Monette. For those of you that are new here, I am a professional intuitive empath, and today we're going to jump right into it. I am answering so many of the emails that I received over the last couple of years. I waited till I felt like it was appropriate. I thought it was very appropriate. You know, I pay attention to cycles and seasons and everything to answer this in a Venus retrograde. And the reason that I'm saying this is because, and there'll be another video that comes out that finishes up something right after this, where I'm reading some inspirational things to you. I have to do with Venus retrograde as well. But the reason that I'm saying this to you guys and bringing this to you is because I thought it would be better to answer in one quick format or long. We have no idea how long this will go on. You guys know how my lives go. What I will say is that a lot of you guys wrote me emails asking about your divine masculine or divine feminine, whomever you may be in separation with, and asking me against my story, what happened, what would I do differently, would I ever take the person back? I got a lot of questions. So I have my handy dandy iPad here and tablet rather, and it's on an iPad, guys. It's an Amazon Fire. I never like to lie, so I'm looking at it, I'm like, no, this is a tablet. So I have my little tablet here, notepad, notebook, whatever it's called, y'all know me in technology, and I am going to go through and kind of like parse out. I kind of highlighted through and made notes about some of the most asked questions, and really there's about 4 or 5. And the first one is, would I do anything differently? So the questions that I get a lot are, would I have not made videos? Would I have not talked about it publicly? Would I have not shared the journey? I would do nothing differently. I think that I had to do what I did in order to transmute the energy. And let me tell you why. Because, like many of you guys shared with me about your journeys, your encounters, and your masculine or feminines that may have abandoned you, covert narcissists, narcissistic people, outright malignant, toxic energies, low vibrational addicts, you name it. We have a litany of experiences that they usually leave you without closure. And that was no different to me. And even though I had spent a great deal of time teaching that person how to communicate, it didn't mean that that was something that they did with me. Because it's not something that they did great with anybody, actually, in their life, unless they wanted something and they were being con artisty. So that wasn't something that they were capable of. So this is not just going to be cheap shots. I'm just calling it, a thing, fair is fair. And that's the truth. They had terrible communication skills with their family. They're always worried about being judged. So they hid things and were secretive and whatever the case may be. So that means that even though I thought that I had cultivated a different relationship with that somebody, it was entirely false and predicated on nothing. It was built on sand. And so I had to transmute the energy because it wasn't like I didn't say, hey, let's have a chat about this or try to extract conversation. If you guys, my OGs here, you guys have watched the videos, you know the situation. For those of you that are new and you just stumbled upon this because maybe it resonates as a topic for you, then you will now understand. Think about your woman or man, whomever you dealt with, your ex friend, whatever the situation is. We all have different kind of quote unquote breakups, right? It could be with family members, it could be with someone you love, it could be with a best friend. And so when that happens, or an office coworker, a work wife, a work husband, when a fallout happens, everyone's not always their most communicative, and you have to give people space for that. And so I do not regret at all talking about what happened and how I processed it. So that was one question that I got a lot. Do you regret talking about it? Because some people found it incredibly vulnerable. Some people found it incredibly helpful. I regret nothing. And then the more I got away from the situation, the more I realized that that's the thing that she did give me. While she gave nothing and she always did the least amount of work possible and she was breadcrumbing constantly, I realized that what I got from her, and I said this in a live the other day, she was worthless to me in a relationship way. So I monetized her afterwards because that's all I could do. It delighted me, and I'm not going to lie, guys, we all have ego, and empaths do too, that she made me money, meaning she watched my videos for initially. I don't know that she is still here, but initially, because I know the way she stalks and I know what she does, and I kind of knew her personality, and I watched her with her exes, and I know how she behaves. And I knew that this was not something she saw coming, so I knew that she was blindsided, so she would research and stalk me too. And so for a while, it delighted me that she made me money. Like, I had commercials that were monetized, and every time she watched something, she paid me. And even though it was cents on the dollar, you guys know how AdSense works until you really grow your channel. I still was delighted. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, the great irony that now you have to pay to hear me talk about why you aren't shit. And a lot of us wish we could do that, right? So I rode for you. I was a night rider in the best way for you, and not a night rider in the way that her and her counterparts did do up there in the racist South. So that's it. I wanted to say that to those people that asked, um do I regret speaking about this? Not at all. In fact, I've written a book about it, and I'm in the rewrites and the edits right now because I wrote it when I was highly emotional, though I am good at writing. That's kind of one of my strong suits. And as I've been going through it, I've been like, okay, what here is good food? Now that I'm calm, now that I don't have emotions connected to it anymore, now that I don't care anymore, now that I'm not seeking reconciliation, now that I'm not trying to have secret vacation, all of the things that I thought in the first couple of weeks, like we all do upon splitting, that if we could just talk. But then I realized, like, no, she purposely curated and created a situation. So that's why I didn't regret what I did. And also, I believe in no regrets. Like, everybody says that, but to live in that is an altogether different thing. It's purposeful. And I had to really, I was calculating because I predicted my ending. That was my own weird situation and dynamic. Okay. So a lot of you did too. That's the thing that I noticed in this journey. I didn't know. I thought it was some magical special thing that I did do. A lot of divine feminines predicted to their partners that a quick interference would disrupt them, etc., etc. And I predicted that we would get separated, and I thought it was going to be like she fell in love and she was like neglectful and missed a few calls. I had no idea how she would pulverize and go out of her way to be cruel. But talking to you helped me clean it up. Talking through it out loud with an audience helped me to transmute it. That just happens to be how my chart's set up. It happens to be my life path. It happens to be my rising sign. It's Mercurial. My rising sign is Gemini. So I'm a communicator, and Gemini specifically ruling, along with Aquarian energy, the airwaves, the internet, and various things being able to communicate. So my angels kind of galvanized around me, and they buoyed me into healing through this. And they also did this too. And maybe this is something that happened for you that you can relate to. They allowed me, and they asked me specifically to try several times to communicate with her, and try several times and several times. And even in our last communication, she was very narcissistic in that and tried to control it and told me not to answer back. If you guys have ever watched Vanderpump Rules, Stassi, who is this absolute, like, Cruella de Vil, evil, mean girl of a bitch, and some of us are just born into it. She's a natural. She was made for TV. But that's something that she used to do classically in all of her fights. She would be a complete, utter, destructive bitch to you and then tell you goodnight and tell you to walk away. If any of you guys watch Vanderpump Rules, comment below. You guys know exactly what I'm saying about Stassi Schroeder. So she would be horrible and absolutely terrible, and then be like, walk away, walk away. So when this narcissist sent me that text that she was like wanting to make up for it because maybe the new narcissist that she connected with, that was the new supply, was treating her badly that day, and maybe she cried at her desk. I don't know what happened. I don't care. But I realized that, like, oh, you are still trying to control the narrative. And that was not the Zig Ziglar stance of seek first to understand and then to be understood. She wasn't trying to help me understand anything. And it was so funny. She said, you got to say everything you wanted to say. And I thought, bitch, we've only just begun. No, not only have I not got to say everything, I think that you will be shocked. I think that, like the volcano that just happened adjacent of Tonga, that it will level her if she really knew the fullness of what I felt, that it was seismic. My feelings were seismic. And that's what I want to honor in you, empath, is that your feelings are seismic too. Not all of us are afforded the opportunity to have a really good talk out with someone. Closure, that thing that we all seek, is something that I learned we have to give to ourselves. Physician, heal thyself. I'm a teacher. And so it means, and you are too, if you're here listening, empath and intuitive, earth angel, light worker, whatever you want to call yourself, sentient being, you're a teacher. And that means that the lessons that we get to have usually happen quickly, are incredibly painful, and that we must be the bigger person. And that hurts to have to do all the time. But this was no different, this lesson. And it was no easier to define. I did not get to have the kumbaya closure. after spending 20 years communicating and teaching someone about how to communicate as things weren't going great. Instead, she punished me for little stupid things that I'll never know about and I don't give a fuck about anymore. But what I will tell you is it was immaturity and it was just her lack. I had to realize that a lot of what happened here wasn't about me. No, empath, isn't that a switch? Isn't that a different part of the journey? Don't we usually take on everybody else's stuff and make it all about us? I must have done something wrong. What did I do wrong? But when I predicted it, I knew it wasn't anything that I had done wrong. I knew what she was going to do all along. But the point is that I still had to walk through it. Sometimes our intuitive selves, our psychic selves, don't get to avoid pain or the car crash or the hospital stay just because we can see it coming. When Phil Collins is playing in the background of our ear and we can feel it coming in the air tonight, when that ominous track is hovering over us like thunderous clouds that haven't broken open yet, we can run, but it doesn't mean that we'll miss the rain. And that is the thing that might drive you insane to know. You don't get to escape pain just because you have a premonition about it. Probably one of the most powerful lessons that I learned in this. You can't always predict your way out of it. I went through one of the worst emotional times of my life, having someone not treat me right when I had literally not provoked them and not given them any reason to be different with me, when I had gone out of my way to protect their privacy and integrity, when I had loved them through and through, loved their child too. I didn't understand it. How can someone turn on you when this is not how I planned it? This is not how we planned it. This is not what we talked about. This isn't the dreams that came out of their mouth. So when someone says to me, do you regret making the videos? No, because I didn't get to have that beautiful moment that is idyllically done in a rom-com. We don't all sit and have coffee and then just someday move on. In ideal circumstances, some of us do, and that's with mature partners if we're lucky. But even the best of us who have loved the best of us turn ugly when it's knives out, when it's a gunfight. All is fair in love and war. That was never more right. Unless you are in it, you do not know the way you will fight. So I had to do what I had to do. But my angels did ask me to be fair and to give her carte blanche to be there and show up. And unfortunately, even in the last moment that she showed up, she was trying to control it. And even in the last time we texted, even after that one more time, she still wanted to be in control. And then my angel said, that is the stronghold that's in her life. And now we're going to rip it away from her. Everything is different now. Everything is destroyed. If you're reading tarot, that is called the Tower. The Tower is a card that everybody hates to see come out because it means inevitably something will change. It is associated with scorpionic energy. Scorpionic energy, when it touches your life, changes it. For wrong or for right. If you're happening to deal with a powerful, high vibrating Scorpio, it'll ascend you because Scorpio rules the occult. It rules hidden secrets and religion. It rules possessiveness. It rules lust. It rules other people's partners and other people's money. On the lower vibration, it rules the things I just said as well, but in a different iteration. And I knew that the Tower was hitting our life. And I say our because it wasn't our. No matter what she said to anybody around her, they know now when they see the vacancy in her eyes. I didn't regret what I did or what I said because all I ever said was the truth, unlike her. I did not just reside in my youth, I grew up. And sometimes the truth needs to be said. Now, what I realized upon the reflection, because I also had this question in some of the emails too, is that I was supposed to meet her so I could do what I needed to do. Had that experience not happened, I would not have grown my confidence. I would not have, and I know you're like, Mona, but you've done all these things and you've had a radio show before and all that. Yeah. But you're always still growing. And having her betrayal, and that was the last vestige because she was a security blanket for me in so many ways. Having her betray me and for someone racist and with racist people and be so duplicitous was such a shock to my system. It cracked my ego. It's one of the things I will have you know that I did say to her. I said, you broke me. Now, all of us would say, why admit defeat, especially to a narcissist? Why would you do that? Because I wanted her to understand that I now am taking my intellectual property from this wreckage that was created by your recklessness. You broke me. It was akin to Tina Turner being in the courtroom and saying, have everything else, but I will have my name. What I said was, have everything else. You almost drove me insane. But I have my story, and it's not an allegory, and it's not a metaphor. It's the damn truth, word for word, bar for bar. I do not have to stretch the truth far. The truth in this case is stranger than fiction. As I was reading back over the words that I've written, I realized that this happened for a reason. Maybe, I've written a book, a children's book, and I've written other things that I haven't finished because hashtag life, hashtag procrastination, hashtag the war of art. Please read Stephen Pressfield's book, The War of Art, a play on words of Sun Tzu, The Art of War. But that's so funny because that's what I learned here too, was the art of war. Sometimes we will be in the trenches with somebody who tries us to a degree, especially if we're in our sweet empath energy, and we have to learn how to fight. And it has to be fisticuffs, and it has to be bloody, and it has to be in the dark of the night, and there are snakes and scorpions. But there's a chapter in Luke about how God said he would teach you how to tread on them right, and tread on them I did. And in the words that I've read back, even in their rough draft state, I think, my God, not a better lesson could have come my way. I am grateful. So no, I regret nothing. She gave me the best gift. And in her duplicity, and in her dishonesty, and in her cowardice, what she also gave me was full, not just anonymity, because she is anonymous to any of you, but autonomy. That's the word. That's what she did do. I don't care about her as a person whatsoever. So I didn't curate it and I didn't censor what I wrote. I wrote it as raw as it was. I wrote it as real as I felt it and perceived it. And, there are three sides to every story, right? My side, their side, and the truth. And the same will be the same and true for you with whatever happened with your narcissist or abusive person in your life, or whomever treated you atrociously, whomever did not treat you right. There could always be three sides to the story, and narcissists are renowned for victimizing themselves. But I have witnesses, and there are truths. And I can name behaviors that other people could check, and I'm sure so could you out there listening. You understand? I know what happened. So here's the deal. I got to remove my feels because she was so horrible. She became faceless. Does that make sense? I actually literally can't remember what she looks like. She became faceless. I don't remember what she sounds like. She became voiceless because she removed my voice and removed my choices and removed and tried to, and not just tried to, she gaslit me and denied my integrity, and she lied on me. And so when someone is that, they are now your enemy. And that meant it was gloves off. The gloves were off, and it meant fist up. The fists were up. So my writing was raw, and I think I created something incredible. I don't know what I'll do with it, but that couldn't have happened if I wasn't strong enough to go through with it, and through with it meaning communicating it. What we are robbed of in any abusive situation is often our voice. If you are molested or you are taken advantage of, you are R word, it is YouTube, I can't say it, or S-aid by anybody. What is usually the thing that's done? There is a coercion done. A threat maybe of violence, a threat maybe to hurt you, a threat to hurt people around you or in your family, but there is always some air of secrecy, and that's the cloak under which I lived in that relationship. Not a threat of violence per se. I do not want to lie about that in any way, but of secrecy. My voice was taken and it was manipulated, and it was what it was. When I started to start talking, it was like the volcano adjacent to Tonga. I erupted. I had no idea how upset I was. An empath. That's why I say articulate your truth sooner. Tell the truth to yourself and to whomever sooner. If you got to cuss them out, cuss them out. If they walk out, they walk out. If they love you and they stick and stay, God bless it, then go and see them another day. But I knew that she was not capable or strong enough to handle the truth and to realize that she had treated me substandardly, and what she had done was cruelty. And I wasn't going to reason with her. A lot of us think that we can reason with our exes or narcissists of any kind, our ex besties, our ex family members, you name it, you define it. You cannot, because they are always right and they never take blame or accountability. There are things in our connection where I could say, yeah, that wasn't the best of me, but that would never happen with her. Instead, she was utterly appalled and instantly hurt and over dramatic and crying crocodile tears because she was pissed that I would even tickle her ears with accountability. Can you relate? So I realized that she was an absolutely worthless adversary for me to have a verbal spar with, actually, intellectually, because she avoided it like she was 3. It was embarrassing. And I knew that with the removal of her identity, meaning she no longer was special to me in any capacity other than being a catalyst for great change and for me coming into myself. People like to squish you down, empath, and they like to keep you tucked away on the shelf so they can siphon energy from you. And you just don't know how powerful you are and the magical things you can do. And they will resent you and be jealous of that and hope you never know. But with under her cruelty and under her purposeful neglect, I did grow and I became me. And it was amazing. I found my voice and I realized that I deserved to speak and that I had been hiding in the closet about our relationship in whatever capacity. And I don't just mean sexually. What I mean is just even honoring the fact that it was what it was and it was what she said it was. She lied on me all the time. The next video is me finishing up some scrolls that she wrote to me. And my angel said, it's Venus retrograde, get rid of them. And so I will. And so they said, read them though, so that the world does know that lies were told. And that one day, at some point, these were the things she felt because they're in her own hand. In any case, guys, that is the one main question that I got. Would you change it? I would not. The other question is, would you take them back? A lot of people write me wanting to justify, should they take back their girl or guy if they've changed? Now, here's the thing. If people do the real work to change, yes, eventually, after some years, you can probably reconsider. We know stories of people that get remarried and they rekindle their friendships, besties reconnect, they apologize, they realize the error of their ways. But that usually means that both people were doing therapy, both people were seeking to understand the other person's plight after the anger died down in the heat of the night. Both people actually cared about the other. No care did I feel. And then by the time she might have cared, for me, it was no longer a big deal. I realized how small she was, and I was no longer interested. And I wasn't just doing it to be tit for tat, like, you didn't want me, now I don't want you back. It wasn't just Mike Jones back there, they didn't want me, now how do you all up on me? No, it wasn't that. It was genuine. I never thought I'd feel that way. And for me, it was freedom. And I didn't want to live another day with her controlling everything, being so desperate to control everything that she lost control of everything. And I mean everything. So I was like, would I want her back? And her supply counterpart was terrified, stalking my channel, gang stalking, doing all the things that they do, watching everything, worried, was I gonna take her boo? Lindsay, if you're listening, I don't want her back. She's safe with you. Keep her, babe. Keep her, bitch. She good. We're good over here. What I'm saying is that I realized that I genuinely was so uninterested because of who she triangulated me with and how she tried to compare me and how she was keeping secrets. That is not a friend of mine. Period.com. That's not friendship. You know, and narcissists will gaslight you and be like, but you wouldn't leave me and abandon me. Those are their mother issues. I have a therapist just like they could too, but they choose not to. They choose to steep in their craziness and act like it's not there and have suicide pacts with people with golden hair. It's insane. I wanted no parts. I was embarrassed for them, both of them. And I felt like if I were to take them back, I would be then adopting the other person's karma too, because I know how that works metaphysically and they did not. And that's what I want you to think about. If you want to take back your person, have they really disconnected from the person that they triangulated you with? I had gone through this once before with this person, with her being extra and horrible in a time when I actually cared about her more. We had actually just come off of dating, and she immediately jumped into another relationship because codependency is real, and she was allowed to. It was a whole big deal, and it was totally sanctioned. But she's a liar, and I know there was lies about that too. But the point is this: I stayed her friend because I was very honorable to her kid, and I wanted to protect him, and all that stuff. You guys know the story. And I knew that she was irresponsible AF, and I wasn't wrong. I was proven absolutely correct the second go around when she was 40. And I stayed because she was 20 at the time and in her 20s. And I thought, this kid needs like a second parent energetically. And she asked me to be it and pleaded with me in the drunk of the night and in the day of the light at all times. Narcissists will lie, though, and act like they never said these things to you. Fortunately, I have a photographic mind and I write. So I documented it. So the thing about it is that I had gone through the merry-go-round of a toxic relationship and the karma that came adjacent with it. And fortunately, that person wasn't even as toxic as the next person that she got with. That person actually somewhat respected me, low-key, high-key, even though she was also racist too. But that person at least had better manners than the new boo. That new boo, I was like, y'all, you both are on your goddamn own, on your bloody own. So what I realized is that I had to disown the connection. And that's what I want to ask you. Would you have to disown the connection in order to get the stank off of you? Because the stank that came with the person that she triangulated me with, it was unacceptable to me. I wasn't going to deal with it. I wasn't going to save her from herself. I wasn't going to counsel her through it. I wasn't going to hug her through it. I wasn't going to be her free psychic. I wasn't doing it anymore. I was sick. And especially because of how it affected a kid. There were variables that made me so to my core angry that being around her physically repulsed me, as in I threw up often when I was around her, which has never happened before in my life. Okay, you couldn't have told me that this was not my afternoon delight, my skyrockets in flight, my happiness to the light. I love that girl to the sun and beyond. I did not know how it could go so wrong, but the stank adjacent helped me understand so well. That's what I'm going to say with my show and tell is, can you say the same? If you're asking yourself if you can rekindle with the relationship that you had with someone, whether they were a narcissist or just a toxic friend or a family member or whatever, can you forgive the lies? Can you forgive the slander? Can you forgive the gossip? Can you forgive the everything? Can you forgive all of that? And if the answer is no, and my high vibrational side knew that I would find a way to punish her over and over and over for that, I would never trust her, and I was not going to do that because I don't want that. When we make mistakes, if someone can't forgive you, like if you cheat on your spouse, right? And you really can't forgive them, you can't stay with them because to bludgeon them with that for the rest of their life is not fair. Now, fortunately, she was Casper the Ghost, and I knew that she would disappear. It was, my angel showed me after it was over, they were like, we gave you the perfect story. This person is a professional vapor. She is Ricky Bobby's daddy. She will literally disappear. You'll never see her again. She'll just stalk you weirdly, and that's it. And so you can talk your shit. You can say the truth. You can write the book. You can do the TED Talk. And so I did the TED Talk from here. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I did it. And I cleaned it up and I got it out of my system in a pussy way where it was killing me, where I was so sad for a couple months because of not the blindness that I didn't see. You know how it feels to be blindsided and to be duped by someone that you deeply held in the deepest of love to you, close to you. I was rocked by it. It took me a couple months to get out of it. That sucked. I wouldn't wish it on anybody. But when I actually dewormed myself and derabied myself from their toxic ass energy, I thought, I'm in better health. And never shall it be me again. Not on my watch. That was never my friend. So that's what I have to say to you. If you think that being adjacent to them is going to get you in your head and then you're going to wonder if they're on their phone, are they talking to their old boo or their new boo or their next boo or whatever fuckery they did do, then you probably shouldn't reconcile. That's why I say release it and let it go. You learn the lesson. You know all you need to know. There is no more. And that's the third point I want to make. Someone asked me, is that still a soulmate or a twin flame of yours? I would have to say, as much as I'm like got the cooties about it now, yes, she was. But this is what twin flames specifically do. They bring you to your knees. They eviscerate you. Very rare is it that you have a twin flame, that you have a beautiful story, and you guys ride into the sunset, and everything's beautiful and magical for the rest of your lives? This twin flame did what she was here to do, which was to crack me open, to show me all of my low self-esteem, to show me how I always allowed people to doormat me, to show me where I was failing. Even though I had gotten stronger and grown up in our relationship, she was the last stronghold. It'll never be again. No one can ever treat me the way that she treated me again. No one can ever treat me the way my narcissistic father treated me. It healed so many things. Before you worry about reconciliation during this retrograde, I want you to ask yourself if you really got the lesson of why that ex became your ex and why it may have been a blessing. I healed so many layers of bad treatment, of mean girls, of ex-best friends, of ex-narcissists, etc., etc. Cussed out a few more in the last couple years after I had healed. Any ancillary friend, any friend I had to wonder about, anybody that ever gave me the heebie-jeebies, anybody that ever put me in my mind that I had to ask about twice, they were out of my life. I talked to them about it. Hey, you know this one time you said this, that, and the third? And this is how I feel. Brother-in-laws, sister-in-laws, I kept it real. There was nobody that didn't hear my mouth because of what happened to me in the South. It changed my life. You know, you guys, I've talked to you about being in a cult, never made a video on here about it, but I may someday. But for 20 years, I was plagued by the South. I was played by the South. I was talked about in the South. I was plagued by the South. It was like I was cleaning up some ancestral slavery bullshit. I was in a cult and I was the only black one in it. And they talk shit about me to my face. The leader of the cult would say to me, you know, I know that the spirit of God lives in me because I used to play kick the can in the fields while my daddy, the grand wizard and the propagandist writer of the clan, would hold rallies as crosses burn in the nightlight. Come on, y'all. That was my life. His spittle hitting my face, telling me how I was under God's grace, and he was too, because he decided to love a black girl like me. And that's how he knows God was in him. Only to have 20 years later, the same thing happen in a covert, insidious way with my best friend. My God, I've learned my lesson. Sweet home Alabama for me no more. But I realized that roll tide, I realized what it was for. I understand. You know, when they talk about roll tide, the lore of it is the elephants stomping the shore, crushing under them their enemies. And that came because in the 30s, a reporter went to watch one of the football games. And the boys in Alabama eating all that cornbread and grits, being fed real well by those mammies that raised them right, not the mothers that were white. They were stomping onto the field, and he said it was like a stampede. When they would come down that hallway, you could hear them before you see them. And he called it a stampede of elephants. And that's how they got their name. And they also played and demolished their energies, demolished their enemies, crushing under the feet of them their enemies and opponents. And then Bear Bryant, legendary coach, owned it, ran it, and was iconic. And now it's under Nick. I do love Nick. Nick's a Scorpio. I love my higher vibrational Scorpios. They are someone that you all should get to know, but the lower vibrational ones will ruin your life. They never get it right. And that is quite literally their lot in life. I understand now what it is to be trampled by the South. Put a little South in your mouth. The South trampled me, but it also created integrity because I stood up to the bullies, every single one. I stood up to the cult, even if I was the only one. I was the first one. And then some others did eventually leave. That didn't mean that they didn't have their successes in other ways, and they didn't have their other businesses, and they didn't see happier days, but they will never forget me. What I will say is the same for the ex-bestie. She will never forget me. And I will never forget her. We are integral parts of each other's story. Twin flames. I don't know if it was soulmates. It was something. It was destiny. I met her coming out of the cult. And for a while in her bosom, I did heal. I really did. But I think that was what it was supposed to be. Let me pose a question to you. Did you overstay your welcome with a boo sometimes? I think I was supposed to be with her for a few months. Not a year, not years, not 20 years serving time. It reminds me of Regina Spektor's song at the beginning of Orange is the New Black. You've got time. You've got time. I served my time. Maybe some of you have served your time, but I cannot doubt that it was not divine. It was divinely guided. I needed that experience. I needed to stand up to those bullies in the South with the racist words that hung at the back of their mouth, dripping with sarcasm and disdain because they looked at me because they could never feel my pain. But now I have so beautifully written it. Sometimes you'll get to be the spook by the door, getting to witness the folklore that is no longer folklore. I know about the racist parents. I know about the racist coworkers. I know about the mental illnesses. I got to see it up close. God will position you sometimes. And if you feel that way about someone that was in your life, then maybe you shouldn't go back. Why would you backtrack? Why would I backtrack? What is in it for me? What God said was in it for me was my destiny. He says, you will write about this, and I sanction it. And you can talk about it, and I blessed it. And no karma came to you because of it, no matter what they wished for you. Because I saw all of the karma that they accrued while they were talking about you. I heard the things that you'll never get to hear because you would never get them out of your ear. Y'all need to really think about these exes you want to go back to. Do you want to do it for them, or do you want to do it for you, your ego, your satisfaction of feeling like maybe the other person doesn't win? Who's the other person? The other one filled with sin, the new supply? Guys, you got to let it go. And I don't know. I wish I could give you all what I have. My repulsion of who she chose and what she chose. And it made me sad. My disgust at the way that she neglected her child in the last 2 years because she was on Mr. Toad's wild ride of drugs and sex and debauchery and fuckery and any kind of scamming. And it was not me. I don't care if she changed. That is for her to do. Hopefully her new partners and her new whatever, or the same stupid one she has, that's between them and her. That's between her, you, and you. If y'all are listening still, I would think that would be silly. I would have tuned out by now. However, if not, then keep each other miserable. But what I will say to anybody else that's wondering about, should you go back to your ex, think about that. Some people are not to be moved. And like I had a 20-year sentence, I think that maybe that next connection for her was supposed to be a 20-year sentence for her too. And I was not going to help her do her time. I wasn't putting anything on her books or her commissary. I wasn't bailing her out of shit. I hadn't shot her enough bail. I had given her enough of the benefits and the doubts. And she had me regret everyone as she rang them out for clout. If you cannot know that you could go back to an ex and not hold all of that in your chest, then maybe you shouldn't go back. So that's why I did not. I would rather have my sanity. I don't want to ever see her face. I don't ever want to hear an apology. I don't want a package. I don't want a letter. I don't want nothing. Now that Lindsay, I would see, because she really wanted to see me. Anyway, not for violence, Lindsay. Relax. Just in silence, sweetie. Relax. In any case, I don't want anything to do with the ex-person because she disgraced me. She disgraced herself. I don't give a damn how she feels. And I still have cuss out in my spirit. You feel it? You hear it? That's how I know. And that's maybe the test that you need to do for yourself. If you still have cuss out in your spirit for somebody, if you still could cuss them so much that their skin would fall off, then you probably should hold back on rekindling. When you guys asked me that question in my emails, I knew it's because you missed them. I so wish I could give you what I feel, because none of that's in me. But it came to that organically. And I came to that over time. And I came to that after I replayed each and every lie. And I came to that after the gaslighting. And I came to that after the gossip. And I came to that after the cruel, cold looks when I was actually injured one time. And she just looked through me. When I was talking about my sister with cancer and she dismissed me. I came to it. And I am here gladly, willingly, happily. I will not look back. I don't know if you guys had some of the experiences that I had. Apparently, because I'm a teacher, mine are intense, if you can't tell. But if someone has not treated you well, I'm sure there's something you can reflect upon and maybe even draw on in order to stand your ground. White knuckle it until you no longer feel like you need to be held down. It reminds me of the movie Tropic Thunder, where Jack Black is an addict and he's like, listen, I'm quitting heroin or whatever he was on, but he's like, I'm totally going to want it again. So when I tell you that I'm okay and you can let me go, I'm lying and hold me down. Something to that effect. If you guys saw the movie, you know. And that's what it will feel like when you let a narcissist go at first. At first. But it does pass. Those crazy sociopaths do not own your ass. They just think they do. They do not control you. They just wish they still did. And they are not your parent and you are not their kid. And they no longer have any authority. Like Carson from South Park. That's what they are. Carson from South Park. Petulant, impetuous children that think so. That have no introspection about who they are or what they really look like. That cry in the middle of the night while they act like they don't know how to say your name. They act like the rest of the village can't see them in pain because they are. If you were a good supply, the pain they feel is immeasurable. The resentment they feel for the new supply will be infinite. And that's your gift. Don't go back in it. Don't step back into your shit. Like a dog, do not return to your vomit. They're the dogs. They return to the vomit. They want to break up and make up and fuck and fight and argue all through the night and break shit and catch shit on fire and shoot each other and stab each other. Is that your life? It wasn't mine. That was white trash bullshit. Not divine. And I'm not just being racist like they were. Facts are facts. So what I will tell you is I didn't go back to that. I didn't regret it. I didn't want to go back to it. I didn't feel about it. I felt badly for the first couple months as I put it all together. It's that meme that we all see on Twitter where all the numbers are swirling around and the woman's like looking off into the distance. And I was like, what a clown. And that clown wasn't her. It was me. I think that's what a lot of us want to get back is that lost integrity and our sanity. I was embarrassed at myself that I allowed her so much love when she didn't have any for me. And that's why I wrote what I wrote, and that's why I said what I said, because to me, she is dead. To me, she is dead. You can't go back to someone that's dead. We would never have the same level of trust. I would never be able to love her or look at her the same. And also, she's tainted. And she comes with a karmic debt now connected to someone who's terrible. And I wasn't going to help her transmute it. My transmutation costs my clients a lot an hour. And I'm not saying that to be mean or sour. I'm saying it because a lot of your people extract resources from you for free. And your time is worth something, empath. Your time is worth something. You can't get that back. Have you ever just had a toxic friend, even if it wasn't sexual, it was strictly platonic, who called you, who was on it, and they were an energetic vampire, and you couldn't lift their spirits no matter what you did, and everything was Youre, and they neglected their kid? I mean, it's exhausting. And I'll never stop saying it. It was exhausting. Was that always her state? No, or I wouldn't have been friends with her. But in the last 2 years, yes, especially about the kid part. And I didn't respect her. That's the hardest part. A lot of you guys that are worried about, like, should you go back, especially in a retrograde, because the ex is all popped up in your dreams, your minds, or your real life, think about all of the little things. For me, I got past that after 2 months. The last time she did ring or text or whatever, I was like, okay, solved it. Got it. Figured out the puzzle. A beautiful minded. I got all of the pieces together. I didn't want any connection with her because I knew she didn't really value the connection with me. And that my sweet empath, is the bottom line. That's what I want you to look at. That's what it has to be about. Did they value the connection with you, or did they throw you out for clout? Fake clout, ghetto clout, white trash clout, high school clout, sexual clout, drug dealing clout, scamster clout, you name it. Fortunately, because again, my lessons are intense, I got all of them. And I was embarrassed, man. As Jay-Z says, I'm not a businessman. I'm a businessman. Let me handle my business, man. Meaning, I had things to do. I did not have time to do that. And for some of you, you have to ask yourself, do you think they've evolved and changed that much? A couple years for me doesn't mean anything for her. Because I watched her 20 years later do the same thing but worse. The same reckless behavior but escalated. So I imagine at 60, I don't know what she's going to do. Pedal to the metal? She's going to Thelma and Louise it? I don't know what she's going to do in 20 years. And I thought, I don't want to be here to find out. Do you, empath? I'm tired. I'm retired. I'm out of the game. I no longer want to help people that are insane. I work with practitioners and I work with clients that want to evolve. I have a business model and I follow it. I do not devolve from it. Friendships are wonderful, but if you're not doing your work, I'm not going to be over here doing the empath twerk, breaking my back so that you can step on my head when you feel like you are 2 inches taller because you're around people that are dreadful, that never loved you properly, that didn't love your kid properly, and that you couldn't see the forest for the trees. I'm out of that game. You have to ask yourself if you're willing to play and do the same. I promise you guys, you're never going to hear me on this channel again have a relationship that I have to dissect in this way. You might hear me talk about setting boundaries and people with whom I don't want to play. But the depths and the dregs of the depravity and cruelty and purposeful, malicious bullshit that I dealt with, it will never happen again. Because when you learn a lesson for real, you do not have to redo it. What does Maya Angelou say? When someone shows you who they are the first time, believe them. Well, I was stubborn and I didn't think that applied to me. So I stuck in for 20. And I let the first time go by and chalked it up to our 20s and gave her carte blanche to do it to me again. And I said, never again. I got out before she could even finish what she wanted to do. I didn't want to be treated like poo anymore. Starting to get so elementary there. And so I think that's something that you have to ask yourself. I said I had 4 or 5 questions, but I think we've narrowed it down to 3. Would you do it again differently? No, I wouldn't. Would you take them back? No, I wouldn't. Do you want to have a meet up someday? No, I don't. In fact, they would do well to steer clear of me forever. But as I said, you know, there are some people that I'm sure I will see. It's so funny, guys. I will share this with you because narcissists like to triangulate. So one of the things that my NARC did, and maybe this is relevant, I know I feel like to share the story because I haven't this whole time, but it's in the book. But narcissist, she was in the obsessive state. You know, when a narcissist is grooming the new supply, they're fucking obsessed with them, right? And she was in an obsessive state, and houses were a big thing, and acquisitions and jewelry and materialism and all things 3D, as most narcissists are very lower vibrational that way. That's not to say that all of us don't love a house or a ring or jewelries and things, but she was obsessed with it in a way that I never got or cared about. And the new supply got a house with her husband, and she Google Earthed it and sent me a screenshot of it. So I knew the address. God is so good. I knew the address. And while I was in heightened distress, my angels gave me real instructions on how to handle that. And my lower vibrational self wanted to handle it differently because I knew exactly where that Lindsay would be. And I knew she always wanted to see me. And I thought, how should I handle this? You see the kind of shit that the devil will get you into? This is why I'm saying stay away from that old boo. Because I am not that person. I don't pull up, right? You know how the kids say that? Pull up. I'll drop you the Addy. Pull up. I'm outside. All those words. And that's not me. I'm not a fighter. I'm a lover, y'all. You know that. And I wouldn't have fought her either. You know that. But I wanted to talk to her because talking's not something she's good at. She's good at bullying and she's good at being a bitch. And she was to me too. And so I thought, I know exactly what to do. Let me pull up because I had the Addy. Because the narcissist was so ensconced in her obsession that she wanted to properly triangulate me by Google earthing obsessively this bitch's house. Put a little SouF in your mouth. That's what she got for putting the SouF in her mouth. It goes to your head, turned her brains to worms like Knuckle. And it almost was contagious and rubbed off on me. That's why I say steer clear of that old ex somebody. Because all that lower vibrational energy is what they trafficked in. And I could have almost committed a cardinal sin by pulling up. Again, no violence. I traffic in silence and in word snipery. But a good cuss out for that Lindsay was well deserved and earned. But I articulated it better in my book. And I extricated and eviscerated and unpacked a lot of things about her family pathology. Maybe she'll take a look since she's still listening. So guys, that's what I'm saying. The narcissist will have you out of your brain. That is not the behavior that I'm in. You know, but they love triangulation. So she was always sending me information about that person's husband because she was jealous of them and how fat they were and how fat his wife thought she was, and or not she was, but meaning like the Lindsay thought that her wife or her husband was. I see confusion. The devil is the author of confusion. I can't even talk about their life because it's so fucked up. But how like she was in disdain of her husband's weight and all the rest of it. So I guess that's something they both had in common. I guess they both didn't like their fat spouses, but they were both liars that never had the truth in their mouths ever. So they're stuck with what they got. I guess they got what they got. But my point is that I knew what her spouse looked like because of the screenshot sent and the triangulation. Do you get it? That's not who I am specifically. We all will screenshot a bestie, a thing, and whatever the case may be, but she was doing it with a different agenda. I psychically know things that I probably shouldn't know because that's just the way my gift works. But I also know things like a Google Earth map of an address down at the pond in the holler that I shouldn't know because there is no honor among thieves. And my angel said, unless you want to become a thief, unless you want to become a low life nobody like these people, get away from their energy because it is contagious. I'm thinking of that song by the disgusting it's not disgusting. I thought it was R. Kelly. I was about to like read him for Phil too. I think it's Mr. Big. You're contagious, touch me, baby, give me what you got. That's the lower vibration. The higher vibration is Katy Perry. You're so hypnotizing. Could you be the angel? Could you be the devil? Yeah. You're an alien. Yeah, that's a higher vibration. That's people that aren't going to fuck you over. But you're contagious. Touch me, baby. Give me what you got. They were contagious. When you were asking, should I go back to the ex? Are they really divested of whatever they were next to? And if they're not properly, and if that person is wild and wreaking havoc and shrieking and demanding and still taking their money and their life and their blood and their energy, do you want to be around it? I didn't. And I wasn't going to help her out of it. I wasn't going to give her any alley-oop or any help. I was pissed for a long time. And then, you know, I got what belonged to me and what was mine, and we moved on. And that's the release it. The release for me were these conversations, were these exchanges with you. The release for me was the book and the work that I did do. The release for me was sitting at a beach and burying it actually. The release for me was doing salting ceremonies. I did a lot of work. It doesn't happen overnight to disconnect 20 years of whatever that was. Any relationship where you have an etheric tie, where you shared sexual energy, where you shared actual energy and communication for years will stay on you. It will leave a stench, boo. You got to clean that off you. You got to bathe that off you. You got to salt bath that off you. You saw me do it all. I documented it. I cleared my energy. And my angel said, don't you do this again. And I said, aye, aye, captains. I shall not. Does that mean I forgot the lessons? I may have forgot the voice in the face, but I didn't forget the lessons. They are now in the place of the voice in the face, and I'm so okay with that. Be sure, if you're taking someone who has betrayed you back, that they're actually contrite and that they don't want to see you as a mark to do it again. The way that I saw her was like, if you guys have seen Casino, she was Ginger, and Ginger was in love with her pimp and would have betrayed Ace, who adored her. I was Ace, and I've even made a video about this here. Scroll back, it's maybe last year or a year or two ago when I really cared more to dissect it that way. But the new supply was a pimp. Someone that was just low vibrational and horrible and was a horrible, mean bitch and all the things. I can't say enough about how she was just not a good person. And that's not even out of like the energy that most people have with the other girl. I had actually assessed her before she was ever really that big a part of her world. And I read her the same way. So did, ironically, the person who betrayed me. She didn't like her either. That's the great irony of that. Narcissists like attracts like. They both deserved each other. Truly. People say that and they mean it like in a catty way. They actually are well suited together. Mentally ill, unstable, and unkind. When I assessed it, I saw her as Ginger and the girl as the pimp. And I remember Ginger marrying Ace in the movie. And he's so happy because he's like, I got my girl. Like, that's how I adored her, how Ace adored Ginger. And he looks back and he sees her on the phone and she's talking to the pimp because the pimp is all she knows. The pimp is connected to her pathology. The pimp has been pimping her since she was 15. And that was not necessarily the case between my bestie and the new supply. But what it was that connected to her mother, it connected to high school narcissists. It was a very deep thing. And I wrote about it in detail in the book. And I realized she will always choose this and always act like you're a second-class citizen when this person's a low-life pimp. You know, Ace could see it and anybody with eyes could see it, but she would never see it because she always chose the lowest vibrational, lowest common denominator. And what was it, guys? Let's do the higher lesson. Besides shit talking, it was a reflection of what she felt she was. And it was the direction of where she would always go. And that's what my angels wanted me to know. They said, you've been trying to save her this whole time and you're about to take her into your new sparkling life. But she really likes this trailer. She really likes this low vibrational bullshit. She really likes this drug use. She really likes being third party. She really likes balderdash polyamory. She really likes affairs. She really likes to be the bad guy. She said so herself. She gave herself her own moniker. You didn't do it to her. You tried to warn her. How many of you guys tried to warn people in your life? And then I realized it was causing me actual physical and emotional strife. And I had to divest. Because who she was next to was so toxic that I had not really come up against anything like it. It wasn't that she was stronger or better than me. It wasn't that I couldn't pull up because now y'all know I knew the Addy and still do. It was that I realized that was really her boo. Y'all, I had the epiphany. It really woke me up. I was like, oh, that's her person. Who am I to stand in the way of a love story? I could be sarcastic about it and laugh with you, but I was like, oh, that's her boo. Ginger was in pain on her wedding day. Instead of being happy to be with Ace energetically, and again, that was not our story fully, we're not married or anything like that, but instead of being happy to be with Ace, who was bringing her into this beautiful life of his, she was like almost in tears because he was shit-talking her on the phone, talking about, you remember the time, I remember when you were 15, you were like a little deer, like a doe. It was sick. And I knew that supply was in her ear about whatever they had shared and however they had connected, things that I will never know about. As they say in Brokeback Mountain, you know that scene where Jack says, Ennis says to Jack, there are things I better never know about, the things that likely to get you, and then he stops. That's a powerful scene. But I felt that with her. I thought, you know what? Better you stay there. I never want to know. I never want to hear. You stay with the person that you really love. And I'll go get my sanity and get my self-esteem and put myself back together. After you have to go through something like that and realize that they're always going to pick the lower vibration, the lowest common denominator, the worst person in the room, and she lost me because the girl was racist too. I said, I'm done. I'm out. I can't handle it. I can't do it anymore. You betrayed me in a way that you can't ever come back from for me. Ace was better than me. Ace took Ginger back all the way to the end and tried to help her until she ended up killing herself and dying in a dirty hallway, hotel, a rat trap place overdose. And that was a true story. In real life, the real Ginger died that way. That the story was based on their life. And I thought, God showed me what was going to happen. And for some of you guys that have the gift of foresight, you might know what's going to happen to the person that was in your life. And he said, get away from her. Run away from her. Because who she's attached to will cause her to have the greatest depression of her life. And he said, I don't think you have enough energy in you to resuscitate her. And he said, after what she's done to you, you don't owe it to her to resuscitate her. In fact, you might defibrillate her without using proper techniques if we let you too close. For any of you guys that have taken a CPR class, you know what I'm saying about using proper defibrillation techniques and clearing the AED. They said if you were too close, you might not take all the proper precautions, Monette, because you are angry with her. And you will hurt her energetically if you actually speak words directly to her. So get away from her expeditiously. And I did so. If you feel the same way about the person that you used to know, then you can't go back. That bridge is burned. There is no longer a track. There is no longer a road to you. There is a very small percentage, like 16% of people that have been in toxic connections where someone actually grows. And then even when you rekindle, there will still be work to do. I decided I'd worked hard and long enough in my 20 years of emotional labor and toil in Alabama. I decided not to work the fields anymore, not to pick cotton, not to be talked about, not to have people's hatred and racism dripping out of their mouth while they acted like butter wouldn't melt in it. I decided to choose me. That's my story. It might be different than yours, but I'm not sad that I lived it. Maya Angelou was raped when she was a kid, and she became mute afterwards. And she wrote from that her most prolific work, her most profound work that my mother put in my hands when I was 8, me, a victim of SA as well, at that age already, and more to come. I understood that the writing had to be done. I know why the caged bird sings. The caged bird sings a song that's sweet because it remembers when it was free. Free at last. Free at last. I thanked God Almighty I was free at last. I will never go back to that, to the cult, to the rejection, to the disdain, because my melanin is not the same. Because my ideals and my spirituality does not align with their boxes. I get out. As Lauren said, I get out of all your boxes. I get out. I was designed to get out. I am not the caged bird, and neither was Maya. But we create great works from our pain. Why do you love a Mary J. Blige song? Because she knows and sings and emotes the pain of a toxic and abusive relationship. Some of her best work came from her pain. Maya Angelou's book that we all know about, and the many that she wrote after it. We remember them, but I know why the caged bird sing stands out. Because it was about the South. It was about unfairness. It was about a time that seems prehistoric now, when a little girl had something taken from her. And she was so wrecked by it, she couldn't speak. And she wasn't able to tell her story until one day she did. My empaths listening, it is time for you to tell your story. Many of you were robbed of your voices, no matter what your exes or the people that abused you did in your life from childhood up until tonight. Your throat chakra was affected. You were told to shut up. You were told to keep it a secret. You were gaslighted like the relationships you were existing in didn't happen. I know the things that person said to me. I know all the things she said, sober and drunk. It wasn't always drunk. It was mostly sober, ironically. But she denied me in my face to anybody because she was embarrassed. Because loving me for her was an embarrassment. Who's the embarrassment? I know why the caged bird sings. The caged bird sings a song that's sweet because it knows what it is to be free. And I ask yourself, as these exes matriculate back into your mind space, into your head space, into your dream space, what is your story? What weren't you allowed to say? What words did you have to put away? Did you eat away? Did you shove away? Did you drink away? Did you shop away? What did you shove down to make them feel like they were the only thing that deserved to surround your life, to take up space? What did you shove down to make them continue to think that they were great? If you want to scream from the top of your lungs, you can do it. If you want to say, I'm sick of it, it's okay. You can go back too. And I am not going to hate. But please know that the videos that I documented of my escape are here. I am nobody's Harriet Tubman. And I didn't build an underground railroad. But I definitely led you a trail. I left you a trail of crumbs so that you can know that even if you go back and it doesn't go the way you think it's going to go, there is healing here. Have no fear. I'm not going to begrudge you your choice because you're grown and only you know if your other person has done the work, if your family member deserves to have your love again, if your bestie deserves the rekindling, if your ex deserves to touch your body again. Only you know that. I don't know. I can do a reading for you. We can take a look. But the truth is, I'm a practitioner that guides you to your intuition. I know nothing. I always say I am conduit for the angels that give information my way. I am conduit for God that tells me to be obedient and speak. I am conduit to God that tells me when to stop, heal, and stay. Instead of pulling up because I knew the Addy, he said, don't you go there, not one day. That is not for you, my child. I will not have you in anybody's Alabama jail, the place where Martin Luther King said he couldn't even make a difference when he made a difference everywhere. He said you will not get caught up because they would love that. That would fit their narrative. He said, stop. Sometimes God will speak to you and say not to do a thing. And God bless America. I'm glad I didn't. But I felt away. And not even from my ex. Isn't that funny? I felt away because I was being bullied by a racist and I felt well within my rights to handle it properly. But my angels advised me differently. I would ask you to seek your intuitive advice. Guidance is nice, but your internal voice and your relationship with God is what matters. These people were religious narcissists as well as the cult too, often in their dogma and what Christianity did do when they were evil people that did not live by the book, that couldn't keep a commandment if it would stood next to them, but had lots of judgments for me. I know my relationship with God. I understand my relationship with Jesus. I know why he lived, and I know the parallel. In any empath's life, you will be crucified. You don't get to do this. And no, it's not too much. And no, it's not too dramatic. That's what your narcissist would have you think. You will be crucified by people. People that don't know a damn thing about you. People that you were sent to help, Earth Angel. And they will look in your face and spit on you and drive the crown into your head of thorns and pour vinegar on you and say, why were you even born? And then bid you to die. And they will not stand by and they will not extend a hand and they will not help. We read the Bible for a reason. Those religious narcissists put it on a shelf and they're Christers. Christmas and Easter, they're there to show up, to smile in everybody's face, to take their kids to Sunday school, though they are a disgrace as parents. And I speak for the cult and those women as well. I'm telling you, they will all end up in hell. I know the God I serve, and he got me through dark nights and rejection and people that wouldn't treat me right and couldn't treat me right if God had came down and stood next to them and gave them a tutelage. That's why we have the parable of Jesus or the story. That's why we know about the crucifixion. Because when you walk a straight and narrow path, no matter what people think about you, no matter who surrounds you, you will be subject to this. Do you understand the assignment? I always say it. It is not always fun. But now, my new life has begun. I decided to walk out of it because the model was also given. He is risen. An empath? So are you. You can go back to that new boo or old boo. Ooh, that was fraudulent. That was a little fraudulent slip there. The new boo. Apparently some of y'all have some new boos coming in. Wait a second. Am I doing a reading too? New boos are delicious, aren't they? They are fucking delicious. What I will say is that you could go back to the old boo, but if you go back, no. Are you willing to go through what you just went through? because we do the evolving usually. Narcissists don't change. They pretend to, they posture to, but really what they want to do is get you back to punish you. Message: narcissists want you back to punish you. How dare you escape my wrath? How dare you call me out on my shit? How dare you rip off my mask? How dare you make my idiosyncrasies and indiscretions public? They want to kill you. Be careful. That's your message on this Venus retrograde. Let me see if I have any messages here. And if not, I will get going. All right, let's see. Looks like I logged on at the right time. Hey, Mr. Chalk. Should you stay away from your current boo too? LOL. Hilarious. Yep, didn't even acknowledge any of the people that tried to come back. You were right. I'm not even into the new boo so much. Haha. Oh, I'm glad you got clarity on that. How do I get in touch with my own angels? Psy Angel says, hello. Hey. All right. So, how you get in touch with your own angels. I think I'll make a separate video on that, and I will definitely address it to you. I feel like, well, just talking to them is the first thing that you'll do. I will detail that. And I think I do have some other videos. If you just search angels on my channel, you can see all the information I have on angels. Talking to your own angels is just like talking to yourself in the mirror. That's really what it is. And your angels will answer you, but you'll hear the guidance differently. And then I can definitely teach about angels and their names and incantations to call them and all the rest of it. There is a dogma and indoctrination about should you pray to angels or not or whatever. I see angels as secretaries of God. That doesn't mean you don't talk to God. I talk to God too, but I know that I have different angels that work with me in different ways. So I will definitely explain that in a different video, but I'm so glad you're here. And isn't it funny to know that you're not into the new boo? I wanted to touch on that when I saw that. That was so funny to me. Hold on one second. That was so funny to me. Sorry, guys. Because I had to blow my nose. There has been times in my life too, Mr. Chalk, where I was like, I'm dead into this new boo. And we have discernment that narcissists don't have, right? And they think that they have to have the new boo and they'll just like blow up their life for it. And I have had moments in my life where I'm like, oh, I'm so hot for this person. I'm so attracted to this person. I want this person. I gotta have this person. And I'm not talking about anybody, even from my past. I'm talking about even the last few years. And yes, y'all, I'm married. See, these are normal feelings, right? And I always say that to you guys. You are allowed to have your feelings, right? So, and then I realize, like, as time goes on, I've had this happen a couple times in my life, not just recently too, but that, like, I'm not really that attracted to the new boo. Like, I realize, like, that we wouldn't have really like worked right or what, like you just get epiphanies. So the more time you vet someone, you're like, oh, this is like, oh, I get it. This is like my friend. And this is like truly platonic. And this is like, it just is a really nice thing when you give yourself time. And it's not to say that the persons or people are not fabulous, because they are. It just means like, oh, there was no like real sexual chemistry. It was just like this other thing that was happening. It's the Maillard reaction, I think, of attention. Let me explain. The Maillard reaction is a chemical reaction named after a scientist, Dr. Maillard, who discovered it. This is what happens when you brown meat in a pan or any caramelization happens to food. The chef nerd in me is going to come out here for 20 seconds. Bear with me, guys. So the Maillard reaction is what makes everything delicious. So when you're browning, like searing a burger, searing a steak, or even like crispy fried eggs, like the brownness around that, crispiness on mushrooms, that's the Maillard reaction. And nothing tastes as delicious until you get that. At the bottom of your pan, after a good Maillard reaction, will be something called the fond, a French word, which is the scrapings off of the bottom of the pan. That's when you hear people say, deglaze the pan to get all of the delicious bits up. Those delicious bits are the fond, which are caused by the Maillard reaction. This has been your journey into the culinary world. So the Maillard reaction is what makes things exciting in food. And the Maillard reaction, even though it's not parallel in actual psychology, is a parallel I'm making right now, is something that happens when something is shiny and new. It is crispy on the outside, but it could very possibly not be cooked on the inside. You can create the Maillard reaction like on a chuck roast or a roast beef before you put it into the crock pot, but the inside is still dead raw, not developed, and will actually actually get you sick depending on whether you like beef tartare, if you consume it, right? So that's the same way that I like to liken the energy of a new boo striking. At first, it's all crispy and sizzly, and the outside is brown and delicious. And if you cut into it, though, and it's chicken, you're going to get salmonella. So it doesn't mean that you will continuously not like the new boo, but it does mean vet, and cook all the way through. Y'all, I think I might need to write a book about that. That was a little download my angel sis gave me. Cook all the way through, because I've watched so many people get salmonella and rabies because they decided that the outside was crispy. So they decided to dive in. And I know that I've had boos that I've been like, this is crispy. They're delicious. I'm going to numb them up. Yummy, so good. And I realized they were not for me, or it wasn't right for me, or I wasn't right for them, or it was never going to happen, or it would have happened and then it might have been salmonella inside and they were never going to love me right, or I was never going to love them right. We can look at those kind of situations throughout our whole life. Impetuous people, narcissistic people, codependent people start eating after they see the Millard reaction. People that are sane get a thermometer and check the temperature and see if it's ready to be consumed. And you can only get a temperature after you've tempered your own temperament. Come on, message. Come on, word angels. After you've tempered your own temperament and had the patience to cook it all the way through. Come on, word. Come on, I'm passing the plate around. Come on right now. That's a word. Do not choose a spouse and a new boo just because the Millard reactions happen on the outside. Because I promise you, what you will get inside might be rotten, disgusting, or cause you actual E. coli illness. We don't live that life. That's a good question, Mr. Chuck. I love when you come over here. I like when you're here, sir. Anyway, let me see if there's anything else. All right, there is not. All right, guys, I've been running my mouth for an hour. I'm going to take a break. I'll come back, like I said, with the scrolls to finish up my Venus retrograde contribution, which is to get the last of my XD bestie out of my house and get the last of the SouF out of my mouth. Amen? Isn't God good? I love you guys so much. Come back and join me next time, and we will continue to evolve together.